Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please standing for the West Royal Mayor, Councillor Caleb Thompson, accompanied by the Chief Executive, Denise McCookie.
Before we begin today, I'd like us to take a minute of silence in memory of Jim Ainsley, former councillor, and David Gibson, honorary freeman of the borough. Please be seated. Okay, so do we have apologies, please, Joe?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry,
I've received apologies from Councillors Riddle, Dodds, Neil, Wallace, Bailey, Reid, Darby and Clayton. Are there any other apologies from the floor?
Any declarations of interest from members? Michael?
Just on minute 58 and motion 2, if everyone's got that, and to read on there.
Okay. Any business to be required by statute? No. And can we approve the minutes of the last council meeting held on the 2nd of October as a record?
Agreed.
Do we have any questions from members of the council on the minutes of the last meeting? No? Thank you. Any business required by statute? We've got a report from the Interim Director of Public Health, Chris Woodcock. If you wouldn't mind, Chris.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. The Director of Public Health report is a statutory duty placed upon the Director of Public Health and the local authority. It's an important vehicle to draw attention to the key health issues at any particular place. This report, under the previous Director of Public Health, Rick Lundred, draws attention to the very key issue of tobacco. Tobacco remains a uniquely harmful product that will kill 1 in 2 of its long-term users. With 13.5% of our residents still smoking, tobacco remains of critical concern.
Welcome to my final annual report outlining key areas of health for Hartlepool. This year, I've chosen to focus on smoking as this plays a major role in causing ill health in the borough. Over the last few years, we've seen smoking rates decline in Hartlepool, but as the intelligence shows, there are still too many people who smoke. Smoking causes a range of diseases and is a key driver of health inequalities. By stopping people smoking, we can make an enormous impact on ill health in Hartlepool. Over the last few years, we've increased stop smoking services and worked with partners to tackle challenges such as illicit tobacco and vapes. This report outlines the key areas of work we are doing in this area and describes some of the great partnership working we're engaged in.
The report covers three main areas: reducing exposure to second-hand smoke, supporting smokers to quit, and raising the price and reducing the illicit trade. Second-hand smoke remains a global health risk. Getting smoke-free environments to both reduce harm and help to denormalise smoking is critical. Second-hand smoke is uniquely harmful to children, and exposure to it is linked to a range of ill health, such as sudden infant death syndrome, blue ear, asthma, and many chronic respiratory conditions. Evidence shows that children who grow up in a smoking environment whereby a parent or a sibling smokes are over 3 times more likely to become a smoker themselves. We commissioned Fresh, the Regional Tobacco Office, who are national and international experts in tobacco control, and the economies of scale of doing this regionally allow us access to the latest data, evidence, and best practice, as well as access to award-winning communications campaigns to help drive more people to quit smoking.
Sorry, just before this video starts, there is a bit of an issue with the sound. It's not as loud as the previous video, so apologies, but it is available on the website.
There's no point. Yeah, we can. It's on. No.
Apologies for the quiet video. The report though highlights our excellent Nova 19 services who work with some of our young families and help to promote both quitting smoking and again to push the agenda of second-hand smoke. It highlights our community navigators and their participation in the Swap to Stop initiative, as well as our specialist stop smoking services, who work, all of whom are working incredibly hard to help as many people who choose to quit smoking to successfully quit. The report also covers the illicit tobacco. Now, price remains a key and very powerful way of deterring smokers and encouraging quit attempts, and the illicit trade undermines that. The trade very often supports wide organised criminal activity, and unregulated tobacco is often more affordable to underage sales, which in turn creates the next generation of smokers. Our excellent trade and standards colleagues have been successful in investigating underage sales and securing closure orders on premises, which helps to protect our residents. Importantly, the report also covers the tobacco and vapes bill, which is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create a smoke-free future. The report highlights some of the key components of that bill, such as increasing the age of sale and improving the licensing and many of the regulations that sit around tobacco and vape, all of which we would like to see and participate within. In order to support that, we actively contribute to all consultations and calls for evidence so that we can do our best to support that bill as it goes through Parliament, very aware that there are lots of parts of the tobacco industry that are actively against this bill. So in conclusion, the Borough region and country have made huge progress in recent decades in helping to drive down smoking prevalence, but we still have thousands of people who still smoke in this borough and are very likely to suffer ill health as a direct consequence of that. So it's important that we continue our efforts across the whole of tobacco control to help deliver a smoke-free future for Hartlepool.
Councillor Allen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No questions as such. Just want to give thanks to for record Craig Wondred for his work he did as Public Health Director in his time here. And welcome, Chris, to the authority as well. We've had many meetings so far, and we've done some great work in his time as interim Public Health. I just want to kind of recognise some of the work that's already been done in the authority, obviously in health and wellbeing this week. The tobacco strategy came to the meeting, and there's some great work going to be going ahead there. Obviously recognise some of the work that enforcement does with the authority to close down some of these illicit tobacco houses, especially the Tory one, which, as you know, Mary Street is a particular problem at the moment. And obviously it's an area that we as a group have pushed forward over the past few months in terms of motion, and I'm sure that the rest of the council will remain behind us.
Councillor Harrison.
Just in my previous role as chairing the Health and Wellbeing Board, I would like to echo what Gary said about the work that Gary did, and to thank him on record for all that he did on that.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, a great report. I think it's really well presented as well. It shows some incredible design skills, which is good to see. I think one of the things that concerns me has historically all of us is the fact that we see some kind of shift between people, particularly young people, moving from smoking if they've just tried it first time into vaping, as if that's some kind of solution. And I know from my workings in education previously that was seen as a bit of a strategy to stop young people smoking, but I think we're increasingly seeing health risks linked to that vaping. So it's good to see the progress there, and I look forward to seeing all of the work that's going to happen in terms of vaping as well as tobacco. Thank you.
Thank you. Announcements from the head of service.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not necessarily an announcement, but in my business report, I've been asked recently to do an update on the Combined Authority, the work of the Combined Authority, and we thought it would be most appropriate to invite the new Chief Executive, Mr Tom Bryan, here tonight, who was here, and rather than sit through the whole of the meeting, I thought it might be helpful if we actually asked him to come and speak, and if members have any questions to him, so I'd like to invite Mr Bryan.
Can everyone hear me okay? Not loud enough? Is that better?
Just use the microphone.
Do it all well.
Hello.
Try a song here.
Is that working? Can everyone hear okay? Yes, so thank you, Chair. Thank you to Denise and Councillor Pam Hargreaves for inviting me tonight, just to say a few words. So I was appointed as Chief Executive in June of this year, so I've been in post for 6 months now. I'm sure you're well aware the Combined Authority has had a number of challenges over the last 12 months. So we were issued with a best value notice back in April, and 2 weeks after that we got a statutory letter from our external auditor raising concerns about our finance processes. So ever since I've been in this role, I've absolutely accepted that as an organisation we need to improve, we need to be better, and the best value notice I see is the absolute catalyst and the opportunity to absolutely strive to make the improvements that we need to make as a Combined Authority. So since we've had the best value notice, one of the first things we did was a whole series of listening workshops with our cabinet, with our other statutory committees and with officers, because I wanted to make sure that we really listened to people's concerns, to their frustrations, and to some of the, as I say, some of the ways we've worked in the past, which had obviously created some of the issues which were then flagged in the best value notice. So on the back of that, we then produced an organisation improvement plan, which we are now 8 months into. I've made a number of changes to the senior leadership team, so not only am I a new Chief Executive, I've got 2 new interim statutory officers, so a new Finance Director and a new Monitoring Officer, and we've also been in the process of recruiting a number of other directors to the top team. We're making really good progress, so as part of the Best Value Notice, we have a Local Government Association Independent Advisory Board, which is there to oversee our improvement and hold us to account and make sure that we're making the progress that we need to make. We also work closely with the government through the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, so their improvement team, regularly working with them to monitor how we're making those improvements that are flagged out in the plan. So the Best Value Notice was for 12 months and it will be reviewed in April next year. But I'm absolutely committed, as our new top team, to really driving forward that improvement, and actually we're embedding continuous improvement in the organisation, so this isn't just about a best value notice, this is about how the organisation continues to improve into the future. One of the key themes in the best value notice was about partnership working, and I think it's fair to say that we've always had a good working relationship with the council, particularly at officer level through Denise and her team. But since obviously Councillor Hargreaves was appointed, we've had a number of meetings. Just last week, my top team came over to meet Denise and her top team and Pam and the policy chairs. Because one of the things I'm really keen to make sure is that as a Combined Authority, we're really externally facing. We're working with yourselves as a constituent authority, but not only yourselves, with others, including the MPs, the business community and stakeholders, because I'm a firm believer that if we work in partnership, the impact that we have will be much greater. And also, as we talked about last week, you understand your communities, you know the borough, you know what the opportunities are here and what the challenges are, and it's absolutely vital to me that we work hand in hand, and also that when we're developing these big strategic projects at the Tees Valley level about leveraging more investment from government, around leveraging more private investment, we make that relevant to residents in Hartlepool, and actually working hand in hand with yourselves as the council is absolutely critical to that. So really this is just to come along and say, introduce myself, say we're here, I want us to be, as I say, a really strong relationship both at officer level and with members. And I'm also conscious that I think as wider members of the council, you're probably not aware of what we do as a combined authority, and we're starting to change that, but we are on an improvement journey. The organisation has still got a number of improvements we still need to make, but the trajectory is a good one, and as I say, I'm absolutely committed alongside our new top team to make the organisation, what I want it to be, and I strongly believe that a strong combined authority and a thriving Tees Valley means that Hartlepool and other boroughs across the Tees Valley benefit. So I'll leave it there, happy to take any questions.
Councillor Hargreaves.
Thank you, Chair. Just before I start, can I just draw everybody's attention to my new desk tie, just so that I just want to draw attention to it so you don't think that I've made this for myself. This was given to me by Bobby Lee, who's the young entrepreneur who makes these things. He prints them, and he very, very kindly made this and asked me if I would bring it to full council. So it's not that my head has become hugely massive, although that might be true. But he so for the video, Bobby Lee, awesome. But I just wanted to say, really just to welcome you, Tom, on behalf of Hartlepool Borough Council, and just to sort of say on record as well that I think the approach that we're developing is really good, and I think forging those close relationships and having, we've now got a regular item on the agenda for feedback in terms of TVCA and hope that's a positive thing. I know Councillor Harrison started this process before myself about just trying to widen the engagement, not just the sort of the leader, but the policy chairs and beyond, and members of audit and scrutiny. So definitely welcome that. I think it's great to hear you acknowledge that there are lessons to be learned and things might not have been done 100% how we would all want them, but we're drawing a line in the sand and we're moving forward with that, and I think that's a positive thing. And I would just urge all of us and members of TVCA to just continue to try and forge that better communication and the way to work in relationships. So you are welcome here anytime, and we're thankful that you came tonight.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good to see you, Tom. Welcome to the council meeting. I think I'm right. It's good to have you here and to see that you're willing to be front-facing, to use your words. I think it's important for us to understand what those structural changes are going to be, what's going to be different about board meetings and all the rest of it. Have you got ideas now, or are you waiting for the end of the process before those things are announced? The second part of my question is around what does front-facing look like to our communities? Are we going to be empowered as a council to do some of that work, and you're looking to us to feedback to you, or are you yourselves going to be doing more with regards to front-facing activities in our communities? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think in terms of the first question, so we've already done a lot of work with our cabinet, which, as you'll be aware, is the Tees Valley Mayor and the 5 leaders, including Councillor Hargreaves. And I think when we went back to the best value notice process, there was a feeling that cabinet didn't feel like they were really driving forward the combined authority. So we've done a lot of work to have more engagement with cabinet, both as a collective and as portfolio holders, and really put cabinet at the heart of really shaping what the combined authority is. So again, we've done a lot of work over the last 6 months. That's still evolving. We still want to do more. I think in terms of how the session we had last week really reinforced to me that our world can sometimes be very different to your world, and I think having that mutual understanding of some of the challenges and opportunities that you have in Hartlepool and that you see every day as councillors is really important to us, because as I said earlier, I feel like as a combined authority we haven't had that visibility and that presence. So working hand in glove with you, I'm absolutely sure that we can then make a better product at the Tees Valley level. And I think, when we're talking to government, using the insights and the understanding you have in your communities is absolutely imperative. So I use an example, something like the local growth plan. So this, you may be aware, is a government-driven agenda, and they want every area to have a established a 10-year local growth plan, which is really going to drive the economy of the Tees Valley. But that needs to be relevant to businesses in Hartlepool. It needs to create opportunities for residents in Hartlepool. And as I say, I'm really keen that we work with you to make sure that it does exactly that.
Thanks.
Councillor Little.
I just want to say congratulations, Tom. Nice seeing somewhere different for a change.
Thank you. We had a History Transport Committee to Command Authority.
Councillor Creed.
Yeah, Tom, sorry, you just mentioned during your spiel at the start about interim directors. Can you just confirm, is the finance director interim as well as the monitoring at the moment? And what's the plan to make?
Yeah, so we've currently got an interim finance director and interim monitoring officer. We are going to be talking to Cabinet in the new year. So when we got the two appointments, they were up to 12 months, but we said to Cabinet we would talk to them in January about basically that transition to permanency. We've also had two other vacancies, so a Director of Business Solutions and a Director of Infrastructure, which we've just gone through the process, and there is a report going to Cabinet tomorrow recommending two appointments to those roles, which would give us two further permanent appointments. But as part of the Best Value Notice, government have really been pushing us to make sure there is a very clear plan as to how we move from the interim appointment to the permanent ones. And just to reassure you, the interims have absolutely got top of their agenda, making sure that we're embedding the processes, the procedures, the right teams, so that when they move on, there's a really stable footing in which the new permanent appointments can come and pick up. So they're not just here for the here and now, they're absolutely planned for the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
So next item number 8, disclose of any business from the last meeting to receive reports from the committee, and I'm going to pass this one over to Pam.
Right. Thank you, Chair. I just, members will remember that there was a motion that was put to Council. Apologies for my croaky throat, by the way. I have not been smoking 20 Benson Hedges. But just wanted to pick up on a response to that. So there was an amendment to provide a report, so that is the report that I'm going to present. The first thing I just want to say is that I welcome the opportunity to remind elected members across the chamber and members of the public why the council is in the financial position that it is in today. And secondly, to thank the members opposite who signed this for the opportunity to set out the many, many positive changes that the Labour government has already brought about, which are helping to put the council's finances back on a firm footing after 14 years of decline and chronic underfunding. So in terms of context, and this information was reported to the Finance and Policy Committee in June of 2024, that obviously is a public document. Hartlepool suffered a 4.8% cash reduction in our core spending power between 2010 and 2024. The average unitary authority, unitary council, has seen a 10% increase over that same period, and the average county, an average of 20% increase. So at the same time that we had a cash reduction, lots of other local authorities and organisations across the town had massive increases. It was only the Shire districts as a group that had a worse funding reduction than Hartlepool. And this of course reflects their lack of responsibility for adults and social care. In real terms, if you adjust for inflation, the funding reduction represents a 38.8% reduction over the period. So if you want to compare it, in terms of core spending power, if that had increased in line with inflation, it would have been an extra £48.9 million higher. So we would have had every year nigh on £50 million more to spend than we currently do. So over the last 14 years, that's quite a substantial amount of money that is missing from our, or has been missing from our yearly budgets to spend on the things that people out there find that are really important to them. Furthermore, over the 9 years up to 2019-20, the council removed 500 jobs to help balance finances, which was a reduction of around 20%. So in layman's terms, that's 500 fewer people to do all the things we all want to be done amidst a climate of actual increasing costs. So the challenge is getting bigger and we have fewer people to meet the challenges in our borough. Over the last 5 years, spend on social care has increased from around £25 million per annum to a projected £55 million per annum this budget year. That is demand that we just cannot keep up with, and it's leaving little left for all of the things that people tell us they want to see in their communities. And that is a national issue. That's not just local, that's not just Hartlepool, it's a local issue. Again, in context, the first food bank arrived in Hartlepool in 2012. By the year 2022, they were administering 3,704 emergency food parcels, which was an 11% increase on 2020. And by 2024, when the Labour government came in, over 5,500 people were supported by food banks in our town. The number of children in our town, in our borough, living in poverty increased from 27.6% in 2014 to 35.3% in 2024. And again, in layman's terms, that's 1 in 3 children in our borough living in poverty. And these are just some of the stats that make the idea of then cutting core budgets to the very people who are charged with looking after and delivering services to these people morally irreprehensible. And yet the Conservative government did it year after year after year to us, despite at some points having a Conservative Party MP and a government. In contrast then, and picking up what I understood to be the meaning of the motion, this is what the Labour government have delivered to date in just 18 months, and apologies because it is a very long list. £3.6 million of additional recovery grant. This was a new grant, highly targeted towards areas with high deprivation and low council tax bases, so us. £2.5 million extended producer responsibility grant, which is raised from charging producers of packaging waste for its disposal. This charge is then redistributed to local authorities, given we collect and dispose of that waste. The aim is to drive down excess packaging, which I'm sure we all support. Circa around about £1 million of children's prevention grant, which was again a new grant aimed at supporting prevention measures to keep children out of care. And consider I just mentioned that they are escalated to 55 million. We need more of that. Just under £1 million of National Insurance Contribution Grant, which was a grant to compensate local authorities for the cost of the 2 pence on employers' NI, which was introduced in the 24 budget. £1.5 million of Pride in Place Impact Fund that we are using to clean up our neighbourhoods. You might have seen that mentioned once or twice on the social media channels, and I would invite everybody to be part of that. £20 million Pride in Place programme funding, which was confirmed for the next 10 years, that had previously been announced by the last government, but only a year of actual money was ever guaranteed. £72,000 of transitional grant funding to pay for the introduction of weekly food waste. 27,000 Renters' Right and New Burdens funding to fund and support the new IT needed for that. 600,000 Community Cohesion grant that we got last year, and a further 25,000 Common Ground Resilience Fund, again to support activities to build resilience in our communities and help alleviate some of the tensions. £2 million to fix potholes and support major investment in affordable homes. £1.3 million to honour the Rossmere Youth Centre refurbishment, and a further £660,000 from Labour's Youth Transformation Fund. We were just one of 12 authorities that received that nationally. 1.8 million for the Wingfield Castle restoration, with the opportunity for this to increase to around 5 million of investment to support the Museum of Hartlepool development and the wider area. From 2028-29, the government will pick up the deficit on SEND provision within the Dedicated Schools grant, which is a massive win for local authorities and again a huge drain on our resources. 750k extra to tackle homelessness, and hot off the press, we have just today been notified of an additional £79,000 for homeless prevention. And then wider, and that's just a list of a summary of the major things that have come into the local authority, but wider, there's £150 on all energy bills from September. There's an extension of the Warm Home grant to 17,000 homes, meaning a further £150. Free school meals extended to 6,000 Hartlepool children. Branded uniform costs capped. And I would say on this one that there's more to be done because it's still too many. 6 million flood defence upgrade to protect homes and businesses in Greetham, West Park and Burn Valley. 2 million in additional police funding to put a named police officer in every ward. St Helens School being completely rebuilt with the planning permission now granted, which is fantastic news, and that work can begin in earnest. Grand Central London Rail Link extended to 2038 and £300 million to be invested in brand new trains. Ensuring real rights at work, increasing maternity and paternity rights, protecting women from sexual harassment in the workplace, introducing bereavement leave for parents suffering miscarriages. £10 million from Labour's Youth Guarantee means paid work placements for young people and up to 2,500 for training. And there are already Hartlepool young people who are benefiting from that. 17.7 million from Connect to Work that will help 5,000 people with health conditions or disabilities back into good local jobs, with Hartlepool leading on that contract. £160 million confirmed for the Tees Valley Investment Zone, of which Hartlepool's digital and creative sector, so our production village, will be one of only 2 centres of focus, so we will get a big share of that. And the icing on the cake, obviously, a £6 billion nuclear deal bringing 2,500 jobs to Hartlepool, the largest investment in our town's history. So in terms of council tax, I am reiterating our commitment to freeze council tax for 2027, 26-27, and I know there have been conversations about that elsewhere. And these are the reasons. Because it's the right thing to do for our children and our families in this town. 1 in 3 of them are living in poverty. We have to do that. Our families shouldn't be in work and relying on food banks to get by. And our MP has been fighting to change the council tax system, which we support 100%, and we thank him for his fight on our behalf and on behalf of the people of this borough. So we stand with him in making a stand that says enough is enough. And I would invite all members to support that because it affects and it benefits the whole of our borough. And finally, I would just say this. I don't believe that anybody becomes a councillor because they want to do a bad job. And I don't believe that anybody becomes a councillor because they don't get up in the morning and they don't want to do good things for our borough. And I would invite us all in here to put aside all of the sort of emotions and all of the stuff where we try and score points and actually work together. Hartlepool is on the verge of massive opportunity that will benefit all of our wards and all of the people who live here. And we can be grown up and work together on it. It's not to say we're always going to agree, because we're probably not. We come from things from a different angle. But we do all want the best for our borough, and I do genuinely believe that everybody in this chamber wants that. So let's spend little time trying to point score and more time working together. And that is an open invitation from me for anybody who wants to get involved in things like Pride in Place, or wants to come and talk to us, or wants to do things positive, who's got ideas about how, interesting things, innovative things that we can do. Because we owe it as public servants to do that and to support our officers in doing that as well.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the really welcome speech, Councillor Hargreaves. I think we do want to work together. We do have shared ambition for the town. I think you've spoken about things there that we jointly worked on. You know, we've done that in the past, and I think we do have a future. However, I think we've got to be realistic about the future, and we've got to be pragmatic at the same time. So I'm hoping that your extension of goodwill there is something that we can manifest into something that is positive for the borough. Thank you.
Moving on. We're going to have review of the Constitution Committee, that's 9A.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a report of the Constitution Committee. The first section of the report refers to the recommendation, which was to realign the deadlines for council questions and motions, which was presented at the last meeting of full council, but that in accordance with the council procedure rules must stand adjourned to this meeting for final approval. The second part of the report refers to recommendations that were made at the Constitution Committee on the 24th of October, and those relate to the Chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board and the proposal to have enable committees to have 2 vice chairs if they so wish at policy committees. Currently, the Constitution requires that the leader takes the role of Health and Wellbeing Board. Members recommended that the Constitution be amended to change this to the Chair of Adults and Public Health Committee. The second recommendation, as I said, relates to the vice chairs of committees, and it was recommended that committees should be enabled to, if they so wish, appoint 2 vice chairs, which on the basis that this would help share responsibility and give other members the opportunity to support departments. Members' views are sought on those recommendations and approval. You want the report?
Seconded.
Are we sure council?
If there's no dissent, we just take that those recommendations as approved.
Yep. Thank you. 9B is reporting evidence and regulatory services on the Elwood North Bay Junction bypass.
It seems that everybody's been taken down with the Trent Ferry, so this has gone down the line and it now falls to me. I'm going to take it as read that everybody's read the report. This is about us moving to a CPO, through a CPO process around the land that is connected to progressing with the Elwick, the A19 Elwick Road, North Road Lane, which is bypass. So everything is in there. It basically gives us the opportunity to start that process and have those negotiations with the landowners. And I move the report.
Do you have a second, Jack?
I'll second that.
Is there any dissent to the recommendations? So can I take it that it's approved unanimously? Thank you.
Any other business specified in the summary received questions and answers on these items? No. Consider reports from policy committees. The first one is the statement of licensing policy, and that will be Councillor Dunbar, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Licensing Act requires to be published every 5 years. Statement of licensing outlines that they propose to discharge their functions under the Act. Last time it was published was in January 2021, and as such it must be published no later than January 2026. A new paragraph has been introduced in the policy referring to referencing Martin's Law, officially known as the Terrorism Protection of Premises Act 2025. module has been developed to ensure that public premises and events are better prepared for terrorist attacks. Requiring organisers to take the responsible practical steps. A new section has been introduced to the policy referencing public health as a responsible body. There are not specific licensing objectives related already to health within the current legislation, and making a representation the Director of Public Health will be required to release such representation to have available data to other licensing objectives. A draft statement of licensing policy was published for public consultation between 11 August 25 and the 29th of September 25. This was publicised on the Licensing Authority's website and was promoted through Hartlepool Borough Council's social media accounts. Cleveland Police formally responded, and the consultation our first supporting of the policy. Following the consultation process, the licensing committee reconsidered the draft statement of the licensing policy on 24th of October 2025 and determined that it should be recommended to full council for approval and adoption. So, I'm assuming you already, and if you just approve it.
Anybody want to move this one? Seconded?
I'll second it.
No dissent? The next one is the report of Finance and Corporate Affairs, and that would be Councillor Hargreaves.
This is the local council tax support scheme. This is the thing that we are required every year to agree. Again, I'm going to take the people who have read the report. This has been in operation for over a year now, so it's really just to replicate the same process, the same policy that was in place last year. It's proven that it's very successful in terms of reducing the administrative burden, and the only other thing really is just to pull out of this that it again reconfirms that we will disregard war pensions for housing benefit calculations, which I think everybody in here would agree is absolutely the right thing to do. You know, we must support our veterans at every opportunity. So I would just move the report as it is.
Madam Mayor, this needs to be recorded for legally, so please bear with me, because I think I know what the outcome is going to be, but I need to go. So, Councillor Allen.
For.
Councillor Boddy.
For.
Councillor Buchan.
For.
Councillor Cranny.
For.
Councillor Creevy. For. Councillor Doyle.
For.
Councillor Dunbar.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Hargreaves.
For.
Councillor Harrison. For. Councillor Holbrook.
For.
Councillor Jorgensen.
For.
Councillor Lindridge.
For.
Councillor Little.
For.
Councillor Martin Wells.
For.
Councillor Morley. For. Councillor Napper. For. Councillor Nelson.
For.
Councillor Oliver. For. Councillor Reeve.
For.
Councillor Roy.
For.
Councillor Scarborough.
For.
Councillor Smith. For. Councillor Thompson. For. Councillor Young.
For.
That's 26 in favour. Thank you. The next one's a recorded vote as well, just so we're aware.
So the next one is yourself again, Pam.
I want to tell a joke.
No, you can't.
Again, the report is there. This is just literally setting the council tax base. So this sets out how many households. The only thing to note in there is that this is an increase of 520 Band-D equivalents, which reflects the positive household that's been going on, and the successful single-person discount fraud prevention work. So again, it's just a numerical report that sets out how many, and so I would move the report rather than remove the report.
Seconded.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Councillor Allen.
For.
Councillor Boddy.
For.
Councillor Buchan.
For.
Councillor Cranny.
For.
Councillor Freely. Councillor Doyle. Councillor Dunbar. Councillor Feeney. Councillor Hall. Councillor Hargreaves. Councillor Harrison. Councillor Holbrook. Councillor Jorgensen. Councillor Lindridge. Councillor Little. Councillor Martin Wells. Councillor Morley. Councillor Napper. Councillor Nelson. Councillor Oliver. Councillor Reid. Councillor Roy. Councillor Scarborough. Councillor Smith. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Young. 6 councillors in favour. Thank you.
And moving on to 11B.1.
Hi everyone. So this is about the acquisition of 9 houses for the housing revenue account on the South West Extension. This was debated and passed at Finance and Corporate Affairs Committee on the 24th of November, and because it requires some prudential borrowing, it's here at full council. So this is essentially to acquire 9 houses. It's essentially a really good news story. It gives us the opportunity to offer families in this borough the opportunity to live on that new development. It's a really, and there's financial detail in the pink papers, which obviously is not it's not in the public domain, but members will have read it. It's a really good deal. It's a really good opportunity to get in at that golden brick stage, and they've received overwhelming positive support at Finance and Corporate Affairs. So again, I would move the report unless anybody has any specific questions.
Councillor Lindridge is
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a great thing to be moving these houses in. I do know that the planning stage, because I was involved at the time, or meeting involved at the time, there was scope for that to be 13 houses for 47 affordable homes at the time. So I think we maybe can go further if you decide to think about that. But 9 is a good figure. There was probably scope for 13 under the local plan authority agreement, if that is something we can look at.
I mean, we would always be open to looking at any of that type of stuff, and obviously that's one of the reasons that we've started the process of pulling together the foundations of a housing strategy. So I know that Councillor Oliver is on that with the new department, which obviously has a focus on housing. The only thing I'll say about this particular thing is this was an offer that was kind of brought to us in terms of a good opportunity, so that's why we're pushing for that on this occasion.
But it was already in section 106.
What's it?
It was already in section 106.
Yes, no, I mean these particular 9 properties is what I mean.
If I may, just to kind of clarify, yes, you're right, yes, but these were offered to us so that... Sorry, you just stand. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think the affordable, the numbers affordable, but sorry, it's my mind.
There's a major point of order in terms of governance, but it has to be discussed in pink papers, because if these are additional to the 13 really are...
No, I didn't mean that.
Well, that's what it sounded like. If the offer was...
Councillor Young, if you give Councillor Oliver an opportunity to respond and see.
My understanding is yes, there's a certain number of affordable homes on that area, but it's open to a number of people to look to purchase those. So we've given that offer. Is that right? And we've taken that offer. So that's my understanding. But you're right, there are a number of properties on there.
Just if I can clarify, Councillor Young will know because I think he was chair of planning at the time.
I wasn't at the time, but further on.
So as part of the section 106 agreement of the, I think it was 45 affordable, we were allowed as a council to decide on 13, and we've chosen 9 of the 13. So I think that's meant to thank you, Jess.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that.
I'd like to come back.
Sally.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a really important point because we've got to be very, very careful about how we understand the PPG and the MPF when it comes to this kind of stuff. We can't discuss it now, but I'm happy to have a conversation afterwards with members on the other side of the have that conversation. These cannot be new homes that we are purchasing. They've got to be part of the Section 106 agreement from previous. If that's what we say, happy days. If not, then issue.
Councillor Body.
We'd have to go to big papers to discuss it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a great phrase in planning which I find myself using frequently: for the avoidance of doubt. These are not 9 different homes. They are part of the original 13, and our officers have had discussions with the developer, and regrettably it went down from 13 to 9.
Madam Mayor, I think what's just happened needs to be noted, and I think there needs to be an investigation into that comment, because nobody should know that information outside the people who are in this business meeting as councillors and the officers who preside. And so it's really disappointing that you've gone into that detail. Councillor Roddy very happy in that detail, you opened the can of worms. And because he's done that, I'm going to go into the detail. The issue.
Madam Mayor, we need to go into closed session now.
I think we probably do need to go into closed session. I think Councillor Young, the booklet might be still, but we don't have to kick it all down the road. Let's go into private session to take this forward.
Madam Mayor, would you please to come back to this item at the end?
Yes, let's do that. Yeah, let's wait till the end and then we can pick this up again. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to motions now. We'll come back to this at the end. So we've got a motion coming from Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is quite a concise motion, and I won't read all the way through it. I'll pick out the key points. This is regarding the 5th licence objected to tackle alcohol harm. The Council notes that the Licence Act 2003 sets out 4 statutory objectives. The prevention of crime disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. What we're asking is for a 5th addition to this to tackle the issues around alcoholism and the associated issues, crime, domestic violence, etc., that affects our town and other areas within the North East. We would like, if possible, to add this as a prerequisite of future licensing when people are asking for alcohol licences. So a new licensing objective to protect and promote public health would be very much part of that. And we would like, if that happened, we would very much see that as a positive step forward. So this council therefore resolves to right to the Secretary of State, right to balance, and if I may add, we've already done that, Chair. And we've had a positive response from them in support of what we're asking for. Work with other councils and public health partners, and have something that actually reflects other areas, Scotland and Ireland, and brings up to date with the licensing laws. So I would urge members to support this motion.
Yeah, I'd like to second this motion, Madam Mayor. I think, as Councillor Others pointed out, there's a lot of issues in Hartlepool, and I think, as already been pointed out in the previous report from Councillor Dunbar, this already is a consideration as part of the licence, but it's not statutory, and that's where the difference lies. I think if we look at Hartlepool, Hartlepool still is in the top 10 of hospital admissions for alcohol-related incidents, and I think we look at some areas in Hartlepool, we have concentration on western premises, Victoria Rock, for example, Lincoln and Hartlepool Affairs are obviously the biggest ones in the town, and you know, we're at a tipping point and we need to address it, and we need to pressure central government to help us to move us along. I think we're licensed to come along with our hands inside the our back. We can consider it, but we just don't have the strength in law. I think, I don't know if Councillor said that Scotland and Northern Ireland already have this in their statute, and it's just a real gap that England doesn't have it, and I urge everyone to support this motion.
Councillor Young?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would like to see in there is a differentiation between where drink is consumed, alcohol is consumed, and locations where people live. I think we need to differentiate where those people are, because you can buy it in an area and go somewhere else and drink it as we're experiencing with the SP in the time at the moment. So I think there's a level of need in terms of being able to pinpoint, and I appreciate that in a subcommittee meeting will be a conversation about and opinions given on the back of that. But I do think somewhere we need to say it's about location where it's consumed, we want the location where we know those 100 people are in terms of living and their needs. Thank you.
Just, Madam Mayor, is that an amendment to the original motion?
It's a request, yeah.
It's a request to include it in the ask and the letter rather than an amendment to the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's acceptable to the floor then. Okay.
On favour?
Yeah.
Any dissent from that? And we have another motion regarding learning disability nursing, and this one is from Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For those of you who don't know, it's really like I am a learning disability nurse. If I want you to put some my shoes for a second, imagine people called Gary. If reports are to believed, that one exists in a generation. And these were learning disability nursing. We really are at a tipping point, as I said before. Since 2009, the number of learning disability nurses in England has dropped by 43%. If nothing changes by 2028, we will stop reducing learning disability nurses altogether. And this is a huge thing for people with learning disabilities and will raise huge health inequalities. The latest LEAD report tells us how learning disability people die. Tells us that people with learning disabilities die on average 20 years earlier than those in the general population, and twice as likely to die avoidably. LD nurses are a vital and tackle these inequalities. I just want to point out LD nurses are everywhere in social care, education and in the community. Here in Hartlepool, adult social care supports around 350 people with learning disabilities. Most living in the community, with 100 unpaid carers supporting them as well. In this authority, you may not know this, two of our senior managers, Neil Harrison, who was Head of Safeguarding and Special Services, and Sarah Ward, who's Head of Service and Principal Social Worker, are qualified learning disability nurses. They still maintain their professional registration, and that experience shapes the decisions they make and the leadership they give. Also, our assistant team manager in our transitions team is a dual qualified LD nurse and social worker, and that mix of skills makes a real difference every single day. If this profession collapses, the impact on Hartlepool will be catastrophic. The most vulnerable people in our town will suffer. This is why this motion matters. It calls on the government to act to recommit to training targets, guarantee financial support for students and employers, and set minimum staffing levels. Also commits us as a council to promote LD nursing locally and use our own influence, if it is there, to seize our university to ensure that they continue training the LD nurses of the future. Since I wrote this motion a couple of weeks ago, the picture has worsened. Since April, there's been a further decrease in learning disability nurses. Just 0.2%, but that's enough, and that's a pattern, whereas other fields have continued to rise. This is about protecting the profession, it protects lives. It's about standing for people who can't stand up for themselves, and it shows that Hartlepool values learning disability nurses, and I can do this motion.
Councillor Creedy?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you'll be the last, Gary, to speak of this change, but I've got to speak after this motion. Gary spoke powerfully about the scale of the crisis in learning disability nursing. and I've directly seen the impact of learning disability nurses working with some of the most vulnerable people in our society under exceptionally challenging circumstances. Those who want to and are prepared to work in this challenging and exceptionally rewarding field should be championed to do so. I do want to say something about our role as a council. We can't solve the national crisis, but we can lead locally. We can champion the profession, challenge our partners, and make sure that the voices of people with a learning disability are not lost in the noise of national policy development. Supporting this motion shows that we're not prepared to stand by while a specialist profession, one that protects the rights, the health, the dignity and the lives of some of our most vulnerable residents, is pushed to the brink. Chair and colleagues, this motion is practical, proportionate and morally necessary. I'm proud to second it and I urge everyone here to support it.
Do we have any dissent from this motion? Moving on, we now have the Chief Executive's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not my intention to go through my report in any detail apart from asking members to note changes to policy committees and seek nominations for the outside bodies which are set out on the second page in section 4 of the report, together with the rescheduling of the next council meeting, which will be the 5th of February. There are a couple of amendments to the appendices, though, that I would ask members to know that we haven't picked up as officers before the report came out, so I do apologise for that. So the National Museum of the Royal Navy Hartlepool is now being renamed nationwide as the Royal Navy Museums. And you will recall at the last meeting I resigned from that, as well as Northern Studios, and the Director of House and Growth Communities will replace me on both of those, because she's not a statutory officer. Also, the Tees Valley Combined Authority Education Employment and Skills Partnership states Councillor Hargreaves, that will now be Councillor Roy. So we'll make those amendments if everyone's happy to accept.
Yeah, can I just pass on my and our congratulations to the National Social Worker of the Year beneficiaries, Charlotte Roberts and John Lovett as well, and congratulations.
Just to follow on from Councillor Cream's point, just to let everybody know that Councillor Allen and I did write on behalf of the authority to thank both of those two individuals for their outstanding contribution to the service. So just so that the members are aware.
Thank you. We move on to questions, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've received one public question. Don't know if the gentleman's in the audience this evening. No? Sorry, I'm just looking at you, so it's to recognise you. So, the author of the questions has asked me to read the questions, but actually, because the chair and the vice chair of the committee isn't here, constitutionally we don't need to do a verbal update. We just do a written update to the individual, and he's quite happy for that, but what he's actually asked for is for me to read the questions and make sure they're recorded on video. So with respect to the Tees Valley Energy from Waste contract, why are the emissions trading scheme costs not included in the contract gate fee price, when we know that incinerators will be included in this from 2028? And that the market rate for incineration seems set to fall due to overcapacity and greater diversion of material away from incineration and the associated freeing up of existing capacity. In stark contrast, the cost per tonne agreed for the Tees Valley Energy from Waste contract is only expected to rise due to inflation, as the agreed gate fee is index linked to protect Viridor from inflationary risk. This means that entering into a long-term waste disposal contract that features a minimum tonnage guarantee and an exclusivity clause can be expected to benefit the incinerator operator at the expense of local taxpayers. And what is the council doing to minimise exposure to such risks associated with the minimum tonnage guarantees and exclusivity arrangements? The written response will be sent to the author of the question and copied to all councillors as well in receipt of that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on, we've got questions from members of the council. Do any of the chairs, do we have any questions? No? Okay. Questions on notes of the chair of any committee or forum under council procedures? We don't have any, do we? Moving on, we go to questions on notice to the council reps of the Police and Crime Panel agreed with Fire Authority. No. And nothing for meeting, there is a meeting held by Cleveland Fire Authority. Just received it. And that concludes what we have on the agenda. We will pick back up with Mike at this point. Is everybody happy?
Could I move that extremely positive piece of that report, please? Seconded by Councillor Littledge.
Very good. Okay, the next meeting that we have. Yes, Councillor Young.
Can I just put on record now that the camera is back on? I know it's just that one that's on, but there we go. That was dealt with and it has been remedied, and the solution was forthcoming, and whatever happened in closed session did tidy up the situation completely. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have any dissent from this?
No.
No. Can I move on to the bit where I close it? Okay, so the scheduled meeting on the 15th of January is cancelled, and we are rescheduling for the 5th of February in this chamber at 6:30.
Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas. And I should invite everyone back to my parlour.
That does that needs to be closer.
Thank you.
Thank you.